Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by on this Facebook Live Monday. I hope you're having an amazing day, and whatever day it is when you're watching this. If you don't know me, my name is Susan Sly, and I am a specialist in work-life balance and productivity. And on these Monday Lives, I talk about things that can help shape your life and help you become more productive and just be ridiculously fulfilled. And who doesn't want that? So today we're going to talk about how do we get things done when we are feeling apathetic and we don't want to. And I want to acknowledge Suzanne and Allison for asking this question. And I had posted earlier just to say, if I could answer any question, what would it be? And one of my favorite sayings is this: it's all perfect. And I was actually meditating and praying this morning on today's live, and I thought, you know what? I really want to talk about how we can still be productive, maybe if we're not feeling well or we've got a life event happening. And sure enough, that's what was asked of me, and here's what we're going to talk about. So I jotted down a few notes just so I could really serve you. And let's face it, there are going to be times when there are things that we want to get done, have to get done, need to get done, and maybe something's happening. And it could be that, we're just feeling exhausted. It could be hormonal. It could be that there's some relationship issues going on. It could be stuff with our kids. It could be stuff in business. And we're looking at our list of stuff to do, and we're just like, oh my gosh. If you remember those commercials, Calgon, Take Me Away, right? It's like one of those moments like, oh, just take me away. I don't want to do it. However, if you own a business, if you've got a job, if you've got a family, that is the luxury that you can't always, afford, right? So how do we do that? And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some strategies today, things I use in my own life. And before I do, I just want to do a couple of quick announcements. So on my website, www.susansly.com, I have a productivity blog. I have all sorts of different articles there that can really help and serve you. I also have a podcast that is on iTunes, and I am redoing the whole podcast. We just recorded a new introduction, and it's really going to focus on small business owners and how they can get ahead in all the areas of their life. Last week we launched Accelerate Coaching, and it is amazing. We've had incredible breakthroughs. The link is posted on this page. We are closing that out if you're watching this Monday afternoon. So even if you missed the first class, you can go back and register, and you can go into that program and get the viewing link from class number 1. It is amazing. So those are all the things that are going on, and thanks for being here. So let's get started. So you're exhausted, life is happening, and you're going, I know I need to look for more clients, but I don't feel like it. I know I need to follow up with people, but I don't feel like it. I know I need to do whatever it is, and you don't feel like it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is your language, right? In essence, we don't need to do anything, but there is always a consequence. So go ahead and write that down. So for example, I don't need to pay my taxes, but if I didn't, there's a consequence. I could go to jail. I don't need to make sales calls, but the consequence is that if I don't make those sales calls, then perhaps that, I'm not going to create the income that can send my child to the school they need to go to, right? Or they deserve to go to. So the first thing we want to look at is our languaging. Need is an overwhelmed word. So I tell my students and my clients that need is a word that they want to really choose to not use. So there's a whole difference between I need to prospect versus I am choosing to prospect. I need to follow up versus I am choosing to follow up. I need to post on social media versus I am choosing, because it is a choice, and business and life is a choice. It's a privilege. The other thing is, when you're feeling overwhelmed, I'll get a lot of people who come up to me and go, I'm so overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a choice, and it's also an exhausting word. And when we declare something over our lives, like I am overwhelmed, the reality is it's like we're planting our flag in that state, and we're implying that it is permanent as opposed to temporary. So even look at your language and saying something like this: I'm having a moment, or I'm, right now I'm feeling this. However, I'm on the way out of it. The language that we use is really key. I'll share with you an example. So right now, I happen to be going through Lyme disease. So if you subscribe to my Thursday 3, you can go on SusanSly.com and subscribe to that. I share 3 different tips a week of, different areas. And last week I told my whole list. I'm like, look, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And so I'm going through this once a week. I go to a clinic. I have an IV in my arm for like 7 hours. And there are lots of days when I feel tired, or I might, feel like not as sharp as I normally am, or whatever the case is. And I could be like this: I'm so sick, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed. But the more I talk about that and the more I use those words over my life, what do you think is going to happen, guys? What do you think? Then I'm going to feel more tired. I'm going to feel more overwhelmed. I'm going to start to think that it's permanent. And as a certified NLP coach and trainer, when we start to speak things, eventually they go from our conscious mind to our subconscious mind, and they turn into what we call programs. And now I'm running the program that I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed and I'm all this stuff. And how do you think I'm going to be? So if I shift my language, then it empowers me. Our language is either empowering us or disempowering us. So my language has to be empowering. That empowering language is, I'm on my, I was feeling fatigued, but I'm on my way out of it. I was feeling overwhelmed, but I'm on my way to feeling empowered. Or, I'm having this moment right now. However, I'm going to get out of it, right? It's because whatever we speak over ourselves is our truth, and our truth is how we live our lives. So this morning, yes, I had 8 hours sleep, and I did feel tired, and I'm out there running with my husband. And, to give you an example, last week I ran 9 miles and it was no problem. This morning I ran 3 miles and I was like, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm carrying like a 50-pound backpack. The reality is that, I'm saying to Chris this morning, I'm like, I have to speak power over myself. So I said to him, I'm like, right now this feels challenging, but I'm looking forward to the fact that pretty soon a 10-mile run, a 13-mile run, a 20-mile run is going to be easy for me like it used to be, right? It's that self-talk. Does this make sense, everyone? I hope it does. The second thing is that when we're feeling like, this is something that I know is important and I'm not feeling like doing it, we have to ask ourselves, why is this thing important? Not focusing on what we're going through, the apathy, the overwhelm, the fatigue, but what we're going to. And why is that important? What is that difference that is going to make when we achieve what it is we say we want to achieve? So to give you an example, let's look at someone who says, I have this business and I want to make money. Well, why is the money important? It has to be ridiculously important, because if it's not, you're not going to make the sales calls. You're not going to do the follow-up, and business is messy. In the beginning, I have 3 companies right now, 3 of them. And just before this, I was in a staff meeting, and one of my staff, she's watching this now. I love you so much. She's like, there's this we need to do, and this, and we're meeting Thursday. And I said, let's make a list of all the things we want to do, why they're important, then prioritize why those things are going to make a difference and help us be where we want to be at the end of the year. And hopefully this makes sense. So why is it that this aspect of what you say is important is so important? What is the difference that it's going to make in your life and the life of your family? Years and years ago, I started a business, and my daughter, Avery, she had been, it was found that she was gifted, and I couldn't afford to send her to the school for kids who were gifted. It was a private school. And so I was, going to work in the day. I was not feeling 100%. My son was 1. There's all this life going on. So what was it going to be that caused me to make those calls at 8:00 at night when I was tired, when I knew that some people were going to reject what it is that I had to offer? I had to keep thinking about her going to that school. And if for you are not in a place where what you say you want is important enough, you're not likely to do it. So take time after you watch this and just connect with it again and say, look, why is this important to me? What is it about this that is going to change my life or change the life of my family or change my future? Or, freedom is something we choose. And I firmly believe it's something we can purchase because, you've heard this saying, if you had all the time and money in the world, what would you be doing? Well, how do you get to the point where you have all the time and the money? You do one of three things. Number one, you streamline your life so that the material isn't important. That's really a good thing to do. Number two is you have to make enough money to live on, because at the end of the day, food, shelter, whatever it is you want, there's going to be an expense. And then the third thing is you have to change your life. So wherever it is you're going, there's a cost to it. And usually that cost is sweat equity. And I can promise you, for all of you who watch these every Monday, not one of you wants to finish this year, December 31st, not feeling as though you had progress from January 1st of the beginning of the year. I know I don't. I don't think you do. So the question is, what is going to be important enough that you are willing to put in that extra work and do the things you don't want to do, right? The third thing is automation. Automation is my friend. In social media, if you have personal pages, I love Buffer. It's my favorite thing to use. I teach my students, my clients, Sunday afternoon, just, pour a glass of wine or whatever it is you drink, Perrier, and you sit there and you plan out all your posts for the week. Automate them. Get it done. If you have a business page, you can automate some posts. I automate several posts a week. You can do those things. In my 3 companies, I use Infusionsoft. My company is one of just a few hundred companies in the world that are Infusionsoft partners. And so what we do is we use Infusionsoft not just as our email communication, but we use it to be able to use analytics in our business, to market ourselves, to have amazing conversations with people. We're doing such cool stuff with Infusionsoft right now. We're doing plugins. So if you're on my, say, Step Into Your Power list, that as an example, I can automate it so that if you become one of my students, you receive birthday cards from me on your birthday. I don't have to do any of that stuff. So we're in the process of automating everything. And some of you know I have a network marketing business, and I am so proud of that. I have to tell you, I've built a massive business. I'm even automating that. So I'm asking myself bigger questions. How can I go from the place of recruiting, nurturing, converting, so by the time I physically speak to the person, that person has already begun to recruit people? That's the kind of cool stuff that I'm working on, because I want to automate more aspects of my life. And in being able to do that, that gives me more freedom. But do you guys understand, for me to get to the point where I'm automating, there's stuff I had to learn. And even for my clients in my tech company, we're helping them automate. So first I had to learn it, implement, teach, hire people, do all that stuff. So there's work to get to the freedom. And the problem is a lot of people want the freedom, but they don't want to do the work, right? So right now, even for me, imagine, going through Lyme, going to the clinic, the kids, coaching my son's cross country team, speaking at events, all the stuff I've got going on. It seems like there's a lot of balls in the air, but I'm very, very clear as to where I'm going. And where I'm going is automating as much of my business as possible so that I can create more revenue, have more profit, and have more free time. Does this make sense? Just nod your head, right? Hopefully it does. The next thing is really having an amazing getting started routine. So in the morning, one of the things I do is I have a notebook. It's just here on my desk. It's just one of these. I get it at Staples. Everything I teach, I want to teach you guys, you just get it at Staples, get it at Office Max. Like, you don't need to have fancy stuff. So I have this notebook, and every day I journal and say, what is the one thing I can do today to move myself forward in this aspect of my life? And I've got my life categorized. So I have my health aspect. I have my 3 different businesses. I have my marriage to my husband, all my kids, all the different things in my life. So what's the one thing I can do? And I journal. And then I look at my day and I'm like, Susan, if you say you want this and your life and your schedule isn't aligned with what you say you want, then something has to go. Even after I get off this, I had to send a tough email. So I was asked to go do a speaking event. And originally I had said yes. However, they scheduled me at a certain time without asking me if I was available at that time. And originally I was going to figure out how to make it work. But in my gut, guys, and I'm not afraid to tell you anything. I don't care. Judge me, whatever. It doesn't matter. In my gut, I was like, that doesn't feel right, because I literally would be running from one thing that I really want to do, a passion project, to that. And it would just be very complicated. I wouldn't be on my game. And if one of your companies ever hires me to come do like an NLP workshop or something for you, I want to show up at 100%, not 50%. So I got an email, and the thing I really want to do, they rescheduled the time. So now there's a conflict. So I have to get off this and send this email and say, look, I can't do it. And the reality is that particular thing at that particular time, not that it's not important, but it's not in alignment with what I say I want. Some of you are procrastinating because you've said yes to too many things, and a lot of the things you've said yes to aren't in alignment with the life you want to create. And if you've read my book, Organize Your Life, you can get it on Amazon. I have a chapter called The Art of Saying No, and there might be some things. We have about 9 weeks left in the year. There might be some things you have to say no to, you have to decommit to, you have to reschedule, reprioritize. But in the morning, that's the thing I'm looking at. I'm like, I have to hold myself accountable and be like, look, is this in alignment with what I say I want? If it's not, something has to go. And that's the morning journaling is also going to keep you on track. And I want to give you the 5th tip. I just did with my Thursday 3. I was talking about 3 ways you can turn your brain on like that. And the other thing I'm going to say to you, if you find you're procrastinating, you're tired, chances are you're not taking care of your body the way you need to be, right? You're not getting your vitamins and exercising and drinking the water and intermittent fasting. We know that raises growth hormone. I just read another study that said exercising in heat, like doing hot yoga, which I love to do, also raises growth hormone. So one thing you're going to want to journal on is, how can I take better care of myself to have the energy to do all the things I want to do? Because at the end of the day, guys, right, when you're energized, you're probably unstoppable. But when you're feeling tired, that's when you're more likely to procrastinate. Does that make sense? So with that, I want you guys to finish the year strong. And if you have a topic and you say, Susan, I want to know more about this, please post it. I know some of you want to know more about like NLP, follow up. We can do that. And I'd love to connect with you on SusanSly.com. I mail my list once a week. It's the Thursday 3. It's not salesy. It's always tips on how you can just be more productive, be better. There's always different topics on how you can benefit. Last week was intermittent fasting. It's always different. So it just take your pick, but check out my site, www.susansly.com. So with that, God bless, and hopefully this has been helpful to you. I do read all your comments. If you loved it, please do share it, and finish the year strong. You deserve it. The people you love deserve it. And I believe fully that 9 weeks is plenty of time to be at December 31st, celebrating, popping the champagne or the Perrier, whatever it is, and just feeling so fulfilled because you've accomplished so much. So with that, God bless. I love you, and I will see you next week.